Hello students, this is our fourth video lecture, and we are covering our second unit of embedded system. We have already covered the assembly language programming, various aspects of assembly language programming of 8051, the arithmetic and logical operations, which would be useful for your semester exams as well as mid-term exams. Now we were covering the jump, loop and call instructions. In my last video, I have already covered the jump and loop instructions. Jump, specifically the conditional as well as unconditional jumps. Fine, so we have covered all unconditional and conditional jumps. Now we were at call instructions. What are call instructions? Before going to call instructions, I've left my last video somewhere here, right? I've left my last video at short jump and long jump. I thought some of you might have yet not clear what are short jump and long jump, so I'll revisit this topic and then quickly jump to the call instructions. So long jump, as I've already told my last lecture, long jump means it's a 3-byte instruction. It's a 3-byte instruction. That means it's a 3-byte instruction. So your opcode will have 1 byte and your address will have 2 bytes. Fine. So 2-byte address, using a 2-byte address you can have you can address a memory of total 2 to the power 16, because 2 byte means 16 bit, 2 to the power 16 is 64 kilobytes. Fine. So you can address a memory of 64 kilobyte. What does it mean? It means that when you're using the long jump for jumping from one instruction to another instruction, so in that case you can jump up to what memory location. For example, if you're writing a program like this, then from the first location till the 64 kilobyte location you can jump your you can do the jumping. Fine. So this means a long jump. Now when you use a short jump, in the short jump you use only 2 byte. Fine, it's a 2-byte instruction. This is very important. That's why I'm revisiting this special topic, long jump and short jump. In the long jump, what you provide the opcode, that means long jump. I'm sorry, the mnemonic. You call it as mnemonic. Long jump, which is 1 byte. Fine, and remaining 2 byte as the address. 2 byte as the address. Fine, this is how you do the long jump. But in case of short jump, this is very important. In case of short jump, you have only 2-byte instruction. So 1 byte, like I write SJMP. So 1 byte is for your instruction or your mnemonic, and 1 byte, some student get confused in this. Some students say that you can only give address in this field. Fine, it's like you were giving in the long jump, address here. But in case of short jump, what you give here, you don't give address. I'll give you an example for this. You don't give address here, you give the steps. What you give the steps, that how many steps you want to go in the forward direction, or how many steps you want to go in the backward direction with respect to the current location. For example, if you this is your program, fine, and if you are somewhere here, now by using the short jump, what you do, you give the you tell your microcontroller that whether you want to move 2 steps back or 2, 3 steps, 4 steps, 10 steps forward. Fine. So you define the steps. Instead of defining the address. Fine. I'll tell you once again, please listen it carefully, that in case of long jump, what do you give? In case of long jump, you write LJMP, the mnemonic. Fine. And the remaining 2 bytes would be used for defining the 2-byte address. And what is that address? This is the address where the program your execution will go. Fine. For example, you're writing your code here, you give a long jump at this place and give the address of this place. So instead of executing this, your program will now start executing from here. Fine. This I have already taught you in my last class. So this is easy. But in case of short jump, this is very useful. This is very different from other jumps actually. So what you do in the short jump, you write short jump and you define the number of steps you want to jump instead of defining the address. Fine. So we'll take an example for this so that it would be more clear to you, because we will use these things in our programming. Fine. Now here comes another thing, that how many steps you can jump. I've told you that using the short jump you can jump in the backward direction or you can jump in the forward direction. Fine. So how many steps you can jump in the backward direction and forward direction, this has also been defined. How it is defined? Because the steps you are giving, the steps which you are giving is of 8 bytes. Fine. And 8 bytes can only accommodate 2 to the power 8 steps, that is 256 steps. Fine. Since it can accommodate only 256 steps, fine, it can accommodate only 256 steps, and in your program you are somewhere here, let's say you are somewhere here, then in one direction you can only go half of the 256 steps. For example, for negative it has been defined that you can go 128 steps in the backward direction, and remaining, how many remaining including 0? Including 0 it would be remaining 127. So you can go 127 steps in the forward in a single program. Fine. In a single program, if you are writing a program, first line, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, and if you are somewhere here in the third line, then you can go 120 steps in the backward direction and 127 steps in the forward direction. That 128 plus 127 plus a single 0, a step where you are already there, so that will come out to be 256 steps. Fine. So this is how the limit is defined, that how many steps you can jump using a S jump. Now how you are using your S jump, you are utilizing your S jump in your program, let us see with the help of an example. You have an example here, right? Forgot what this example is doing, because we are focused on how the short jump works. We are not focused on that what does this program is doing, whether it's doing addition, subtraction or whatever, but we are focused that how the short jump works. So let us see what are the lines of the program. This line you know, this line you know, this line you know. What it is doing, it is clearing R0, it is moving 55 into accumulator. Now the thing comes here. Fine. This is a conditional jump. This is what? A conditional jump. Fine. So what I have taught you, that either it is a conditional jump or an unconditional jump. Fine. Both are different. In case of conditional jump, what you do, you give the condition whether, see, this condition is whether the accumulator is 0 or not. Fine. The accumulator is 0 or not. Jump if 0. If the value of the accumulator is 0, then only it will jump. So what has been done here, instead of giving, since I've already told you in my last class, all the conditional jumps, please remember, all the conditional jumps are of what type? Are they short jump or long jump? I have already told you all the conditional jump are short jumps. So I have already defined that all the conditional jumps are short jumps. We can see in this slide also I have written somewhere that all the short jumps, see, all the conditional jumps, all the conditional jumps are short jumps. So what does it mean? It means that your conditional jumps, like this is a conditional jump, this is a conditional jump, this is a conditional jump, so it would be a short jump. Fine. So what will happen, this jump 0, this will have 1 byte, this is the 1 byte instruction, and what would be this next? Is this is the address? Is this is the address where your next instruction need to be executed? Not forward with respect to your current location. This has been remember long jump, if this would have been a long jump, whether then and that how many number of steps you want to go but backward, in this case you're going to go, this is not an address. So let us see this, the number of steps of this example, the number itself of steps. So what it is doing, you want to go with 0 to next location, backward or forward is different. You select, your current location. This is the your program line number. The first one is your program line number, first line, second line, third line, fourth line, right? This is not label. Your computer, your microcontroller, your assembler doesn't know. This is just for your understanding that what is the line number. Fine, I'll tell you this. This is what, this is your opcode. Opcode is what? The machine code. This is your assembly language program. This has been converted to opcode using assembler. Fine, each instruction will be converted to opcode using assembler. For example, this instruction move r0 comma 0. Fine, this instruction is converted to this opcode. You understand this, but machine doesn't understand this. So to understand the machine, to make the machine understand what assembler has done, assembler is a program which has converted this mnemonic into opcode. So as soon as the machine gets 7800, it knows that 78 means move r0. Fine, 78 means move r0 and 00 means what to move, 00 needs to be moved. Fine, this is how it is done. So we'll come back to our point. So these are the opcodes. This is your assembly language program. It has mnemonic. These are your mnemonics and these are your operands. Fine, and this is what, this is the content of your program counter. You know what is a program counter? Program counter contains the line or the memory address of the next instruction to be executed. Please listen it carefully. Some students got confused in this, that program counter contains, as the name, its name is program counter, so it is counting. It keeps a count that at what location is your program, currently your program is executing, at what location. Fine, so program counter will have the address of next instruction. For example, if your 8051 is executing this instruction, then what would be the content of program counter? Your program counter would be containing the address of next instruction. Fine, do remember this. So at each location we have defined what the program counter contains. Fine, we have defined that also. So what does you have? You have line number, you have content of the program counter, the opcode corresponding to the particular mnemonic. Fine, so what has been done? This instruction, 55 has been moved to accumulator. Now look at this, jump if 0. What is this? This is a conditional jump. So definitely next means the number of steps. How to calculate the number of steps? See what has been done. JZ, the corresponding opcode for JZ. You need not to remember this. If it would have been asked in a mid-sem or a semester exam or a quiz, so opcode would be supplied to you. So you need not to remember what is the opcode for a particular instruction. So jump if 0, the opcode corresponding to jump if 0 is 60. Fine, remaining 03 means your next. This next means 03. So what it is saying? It is saying that jump 3 steps ahead. What it is saying? It is saying jump 3 steps ahead. When your accumulator is 0. Fine, you got it? I'll tell you once again what this instruction means. JZ next. JZ next. What does it mean? JZ next. JZ next means jump if your accumulator is 0. First it will check whether the accumulator is 0 or not. If the accumulator is 0, then please jump to next. What is next? Here you have already written, but in a computer, computer doesn't understand, 8051 doesn't understand A, B, C, D, E, F, G letters. Fine. So how it will know that where is next? See here how it is calculated. Next, the value of next, which is converted from the mnemonic to the opcode, is 3. Fine, so it means jump if the accumulator is 0, to 3 steps ahead. 3 steps from where? 3 steps from the current location. Fine. So how to calculate that? How the machine calculates it? Let us see. What we do, we take the current value of the program counter. Fine, we take the current, machine takes, we don't do all these things. I'm explaining you how the machine handles the jumping from one location to another location. Fine. So the current location of program counter, what it is, I've already said. If you are executing this, then please tell me, please pause this video for a second and answer my question. If you are executing this instruction, what would be the content of the program counter? Is the content of program counter this or this? The content of the program counter would be 0006, not this, because the content of the program counter would be the address of next instruction. What is next instruction? This is next instruction. Its address is 006. So currently the content of the program counter is 0006. So program counter contains 0006. Fine. Now what we'll do, we will add. If you want to move forward, then we'll add. If you want to move backward, we will subtract. So what we'll do, we will add the given number of steps. What is the number of steps given? Next means 03. So we will add 3 to the program counter. After adding it, it would be 0009. So your program counter will be added with the new value, which is 009. Now program counter is having 0009. It means that 8051 will now execute the instruction which is at the address 0009. Let us see what is at the 0009. It will search in the entire room. Where is 0009? This is 0009. And what is at the 0009? Next. You wanted to move your program at the next level now, so it went next. It will execute this. Fine. Let us take one more example, then I'll leave this to you, because I've already shared these slides with you people, and you can take one more example within this program itself, and then you can do this exercise. I'm searching for one more conditional jump. Yes, there is the conditional jump. JNC over. What does it mean? It means that if there is no carry, that means the carry flag is not set, then please jump to over. How the 8051 is doing this? See, please don't get confused. You people have to make this much program. If it is asked that please make a program for addition, subtraction or any loop, then you have to make this program only. You need not to remember all these things. Why I am explaining all these things to you? I am explaining this because you need to know that how a jump and loop works, how the 8051 handles a jump and loop. Fine. So I am taking one more example. Just a second. I am taking one more example. JNC over. Jump if no carry to location over. So jump if no carry has a opcode which is 50. Fine. And over we have defined it as 05. So what does it mean? It means that I want to jump ahead. How many steps? 5 steps. Fine. So how the machine calculates 5 steps? Machine doesn't know what is 5 steps. How it calculates the 5 steps? It takes the value of the program counter. The value of the program counter is 000D. Fine. And it adds the number of steps to it. Now let us do the hexadecimal addition. D. After D, it is, you have to count till how many times? 5 times. So D, E, F. After F, it is 10. Please remember, after F it is 10. So D, E, F, 10, 11 and 12. Fine. So what is the answer? 0012. Please practice the hexadecimal addition if you don't know, or otherwise if you don't know hexadecimal addition, you need not to understand at this level. At undergraduate level of embedded, you did not to understand how the hexadecimal addition is done. If you know, that is very good. So after hexadecimal addition, you get the location 0012. Now your 8051 knows where to jump. You at this location you need to jump at 0012. Fine. Where is 0012? It will search in the room. Where is 0012? This is 0012. So now your program will start executing at 0012. What is at 0012? It is over. Fine. So your program now will come at this place. This is how short jump takes place inside 8051. Fine. Now let us move to the next thing, the call instruction. So what we have already covered, including in my last video lecture, we have covered the short jump, long jump, conditional and unconditional jumps. Fine. And in the jumps itself, you have understood what is the loop, how loop takes place in an assembly language program. Now we will cover the call instructions. Fine. What are call instructions and why they are used? Actually what happens when you wanted to make a jump from one program to another program, more specifically, this is a specific definition. Actually the technical definition is something else, but specific definition I like to tell you. A call means if you are jumping from particular location in a program to another location in another program. Please remember, the jump was used for jumping from one location in a program to another location in a program. Fine. In the same program. But the call is used to jump from one location in a program to another location in a different program. You got it? From one program to another program. If you are jumping from one program to another program, you use call. And if you are jumping within the same program, then you use jump. Either short jump or long instructions, some move instructions, and different types of instruction. Fine. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and n number of lines. Fine. Now at this line, if you wanted to print something on monitor, fine, if you wanted to print something on monitor, then printing on monitor will take a lot of time. It takes n instructions. You need to write n number of instructions. Fine. First instruction will enable the monitor. Second instruction will do what? Will communicate with the monitor whether the monitor is on or not. Third instruction will move the data towards the monitor byte by byte. Fine. So there are n number of steps involved when you are interfacing with any input output device. Fine. I have taken the example of monitor. When you wanted to print something on the monitor, it takes n number of steps. So this is very impractical. For example, if you are writing a 4-line program, 1 2 3 4, fine, and in the third line you want to print something, then for example, for writing something on the monitor, you need 10,000 lines of program or 1,000 lines of program. Then each time when you want to print something on monitor, then you have to insert those 1,000 lines within your program. That is cumbersome. Fine. That is very cumbersome and that is impractical. So what you do, you have understood the query. The query is, I'll explain you again, that within a program, I'm taking an example of, you can take any example, any input output device example, but I'm taking an example of monitor, which is more practical. If you write n number of lines in your code, and with here you are printing something on monitor, here you are displaying something on monitor, here you are displaying something on monitor, then displaying some value on the monitor takes, for example, let us say these many number of lines. These lines will display a single character on monitor. So each time you are printing something on a monitor or displaying something on a monitor, then you have to insert these many lines of code in your program. Here also, and wherever you want to print. So your length of your program will become very large, although your program is short. Your program is short, but since you have used the printing functionality, or you have used the displaying functionality of monitor, or printing functionality of a printer, any input output device, then the length of your program will become very large, and it is very difficult to write large programs again and again. Fine, it is very difficult to write large programs again and again. So what facility has been done, this is the facility for a programmer. Fine, what facility has been done, that let us say if you want to display something on a monitor, then that particular program will remain same for every user. Every user, if user wanted to print something on a monitor or print something on a printer, then the program will remain same. Fine, so that program has already been written, compiled, checked, and saved in a particular place in the memory. Fine, that program is already saved, checked in by the developer or by any person in the memory. It has been saved in the memory. Now the user writes his own program. Please listen my lines carefully. The user writes his own program. Now if user wanted to display something on the monitor, so what he'll do, if he wanted to display something at this line, he'll just simply call this program which is developed for displaying on monitor. Fine, now in the next lines, if the user wanted to print something using the printer, then instead of writing 1000 lines of code for printing, he'll just call, the user will call another program which was already saved in the ROM, which is used for printing. Fine, so for every, you can do it by yourself also, that if you are adding two values, please listen it carefully, if you are adding two values or n values, they can, then that the program will remain same for every user. So you save that particular program, and each time in any program, if you are doing the addition, so instead of writing all those lines for adding, you call that already saved program. Fine, so you can also do that same. So for that thing you use call instruction. Fine, please listen here. For that particular operation you need a call instruction, and the program which you call, which is already saved in the memory. Fine, the program which you call each time will be known as subroutine. This you need to remember. Fine, this will be known as subroutine. What is subroutine? Subroutine is the program which you call within your own program. Fine, please remember what is subroutine. Subroutine is the program which you call within your own program. Fine, and how do you call that? Using call instruction is used to call subroutine. Fine, so in your program, when you use call instruction, it will always call a particular subroutine. Fine, and subroutine means a program which can be called inside your program, your own program. Fine, now let us see what are the types of subroutine. Again, the subroutine are of two types. What are the types of call instruction? Again, the call instruction are of two types. Long call, similar to jump, where we had short jump and long jump, right? So similarly, call also we have long call and absolute call. Instead of short call we have absolute call. Fine, so long call means, again same, long call will have 3 byte instruction. Long call will have 3 byte instructions. 1 byte is for mnemonic L call, and remaining 2 bytes is for address. Fine, so you have to give the address where your subroutine program is stored. Fine. And in case of absolute call, what you'll do, it is a 2-byte instruction, so 1 byte will be saved for a call and remaining will be saved for steps, the number of steps at which your your subroutine is saved. Fine. Similar to long jump and short jump. Let us move forward. So this is very important. What happens when a subroutine is called? Actually, when you write a call instruction within your program, what actually happens inside the 8051? Fine. This is very important, where a number of questions has been asked in your semester exams in various universities also, where the microcontroller and embedded system subject has been running, or what happens, this kind of questions are always asked. So this is an important topic. What happens when a subroutine program has been called? Inside a program, inside your program, if you call a subroutine, what actually happens? This is very important. Actually, what I'll do, I'll make you explain this thing using a good example. Program is written somewhere on the memory, like address 001, address 002, address 003. Fine. Each instruction has its own address. Fine. And where this address is saved? This address is saved in program counter. So your 8051 knows that which instruction is currently executed. Fine. I have already told you that if you are executing this instruction, the program counter will contain the address of next instruction. Fine. The program counter will contain the address of next instruction. But what if you put a call instruction? This call instruction will move you, it will move the 8051 to a new place where each instruction will have its own address, which is different from these addresses. Fine. So what will happen? This address will be loaded to program counter. Please listen me carefully. This address will be loaded to program counter. So now the machine will know that it has to execute these instructions rather than the remaining instruction. It has to execute these instructions. Fine. Once your 8051 finishes executing these instructions, or once your 8051 finishes this subroutine, entire program, it reaches to the end of the line. Now what 8051 has to do? It has to come back at the same line where it has left. Since it has left here, it goes here, start executing this. After end of this subroutine, it will come back to the same position. How 8051 remembers that where it has to come back? You listen, you understood my question? I tell you again. What happens? This has just become mashed up. Just a minute. Yeah. So what happens if you're writing your code something like this? Fine. And here you have your call instruction. These are the addresses of each instruction. Fine. So your program counter will contain the address of next instruction which is next to the particular instruction which is currently executed. Fine. So this is inside the program counter. Let us say this is B. So B is inside 0B. So 0B is inside the program counter. Fine. Now when you give a call to particular location, let us say the location is 0D. Fine. What is 0D? At 0D a particular program has been written which is known as subroutine. Now this 0T will be when 8051 has call instruction, it will save that value 0D into program counter. So that, why it does that? Because program counter need to know that from where it has to do the execution. So 0D will be saved to the program counter. Now the 8051 will search that where is 0D. Here is 0D. So it will start executing this line, this line, this line, this line, this line. Now it reaches the end of your subroutine. Now what will happen? It has to come back to the same location where it has left. How does it remember that where it has left? It has left at 0b. Fine. How does it remember it has left at 0b? What happens? Here you use a particular area of RAM which I have already taught you in your first video lecture. It is the stack of RAM. It is the stack of RAM. What you do when you are jumping from this place, the content of the program counter, what is the content of program counter? The address of next location. You save that address inside the stack, then you move to the new location. Now what happens when you encounter the last line of your subroutine? The stack is checked. What is the value of the stack? Stack contains the address where your program has been left. Fine. So that address is now stored back to the program counter. So your 8051 now knows that from where it has to restart the execution. Fine. I think it is now clear to you all. I'll take the example and make you explain the same thing again so that it is more clear to everyone. Fine. Just a minute. Yes. Let us move forward. So this is that example. Let us not go to the details what the program is doing, because we are not focused on what the program is doing. Let us come back that how to do the writing, how the call function is executed. Delay here. This is our mind long call delay. So what will happen? The address of this move will have some address. This is also having some address. This is also having some address. Please tell me what is the current value of the program counter when we are executing lcall delay. The value of the program counter would be this address, this particular address, the address of next instruction. That is, let us say again it is 0b. So 0b is, the program counter would be containing 0b. Fine. Lcall delay. Now your program will move to the location delay. Where is delay? This is delay. How it is calculated I have already told you in last example, so we need not to understand this. It will move to the delay. Fine. This is your delay. Now delay, what will happen? The delay is also having some address. That particular address is saved, now saved into the program counter. So what will happen to this 0b? What will happen to this 0b? This 0b will not erased, it will move to stack. It will move to stack, and it will move to stack, and the program counter will be loaded with a particular address, which is the address of this delay. Fine. So that now your 8051, this will be erased from here. It will move to the program counter, and your program stack, sorry, and your program counter will contain the new address of delay. So now your 8051 knows that from where the execution needs to be done. It needs to be done from this place. Fine. So once it completes the execution, completes this subroutine, this is the subroutine. Fine. This is the subroutine. What is the subroutine? It's a simple program which is written somewhere else. Fine. So you go to this subroutine, execute this subroutine, and once it comes to the last line, please remember, I will explain this you once again in another slides, that the last line of a subroutine is always RET. RET means return. The last line, I'm again repeating, the last line of a subroutine is always RET, return. It's always return. Fine. So what is the use of return? As soon as 8051 encounters that there is a instruction which is known as RET. So that means you have to return to your main program. The subroutine execution has been finished. Now you have to again come back to your main program. And what was your main program? This was your main program. Fine. So how to come back to the main program? It will check the stack, that what is the value of the stack. The value of the stack was 0b. this value will be loaded into the program counter again. Now the 8051 knows that from where it needs to be start executing its main program. It needs to be it is executing its main program from place 0b. Where is 0b? 0b is there. To understand more clearly, yeah, this is that example. This is a very good example. Again the same example actually. So what it is doing, alcol delay. Fine. So for alcol you have the opcode as 12. Alcol means 12. For 8051 alcol means 12. So opcode for alcol is 12. This delay means 0300. You only define this within your program, what this delay means. Fine. So this delay means 0300. That means you have to, this is a call to a subroutine program which is stored at what address? 0300. Fine. 0300. Now what will happen? The value of the program counter, what is the value of the program counter here? Please tell me. The value of the program counter is 0007. Fine. The address of next instruction. So currently you are executing this instruction. Fine. So the content of the program counter is 0007. Let us write. Fine. The content of the program counter is 0007. Fine. Now you are jumping to the new location which is delay. The address is 300. Fine. Now since it's a long call, so this 300 is what? Please tell me. Pause the video and please remember, try to remember what this 300 is. Is it the number of steps where we want to go forward and backward, or it is the address? It is the address, because this is alcol. Alcol means long call, and in case of long call and long jump we give addresses rather than step. So this 0300 is nothing but the address. This 0300 is address. Fine. Now since we are going to 0300, the program counter needs to be loaded with 0300 so that 8051 can know that where we are executing. Fine. But where will this 007 go? Because after executing the new program you have to come back to your main program. So what will happen? The value of the program counter will be moved to the stack. This is the stack memory. Now how it will move? This is how many bits? 16 bits. Fine. 4 4 4 4 16 bits. But the size of your stack is only 8 bits, because your RAM is like this. Your RAM is how much? What is the size of your RAM? The size of your RAM is 128 bytes. You know this? The size of your RAM is for 8051 is 128 bytes. I've already taught you. But size is 128 bytes. The length is only 8 bit. It is only 8 bit long. So one byte can come here, another byte will go there, another byte will go there. Fine. Stack, I've already taught you in the class itself that what is a stack. Stack is a last in first out structure. Last in first out structure. So whatever goes, it goes like this. Whatever comes out, it comes out like this. Fine. So last in first out. Whatever is last will get first out. Fine. So what happens? How to store this 16 bit in this stack? First the lower 8 bits. These are the lower 8 bits that would be saved. Now the next 8 bits that would be saved. Fine. First 07 goes here, then 00 goes here. Now the value of the program counter goes into the stack. Fine. And then what the program counter will contain? The program counter will contain what the program counter will contain? The program counter will contain the new value, the new address where you have to go. So program counter will contain 0300. It has been given here. Fine. And stack, what was stack containing? Stack containing 0700. Now stack is also having pointer. Similar to your program counter, stack is also having a pointer. That, let us say, this is first place, this is second place, this is third place, this is fourth place. So I think you have read in your first midsems that was a stack. What is a stack pointer? There's a special function register stack pointer. So stack pointer contains the current address of stack. So the stack is filled till this place. So this address, this particular address where the last value of the stack is saved into the stack pointer. Fine. So after moving two values from the program counter to the stack has been increased by value of 2. For example, if it is 0 0, it would be 0 1, it would be 0 2. So stack has been stack has been increased to the value of 2. So that particular value would be saved in the stack pointer. Fine. Let us go forward. Just a second. I'll erase all these things. Now what happens? Yes. Now what happens? But it is doing something. For example, it is a delay program which is delaying your processor, fine, or delaying your microcontroller, because it is jumping again and again to same location with some number of steps. So it is delaying. Fine, it is a delay program. Once it completes all these instruction, all these loops and all, it comes to the last location, which is always return. A subroutine, last line of a subroutine is always RET. RET means return. Fine. So when your 8051 encounters this instruction return, what it will do? It will check what is your stack. Stack is already made here. I'll show you here. What is the content of the stack? The stack value is 07 and 00. So what it will do? This return instruction, what it will do? It will load the program counter like this. First higher bytes will go into the first higher bytes of program counter. Lower the second byte of the stack pointer will go to the lower value of the program counter. Fine. I'm repeating it. The first byte of the stack pointer will go to the higher 8 bits of program counter, and second byte will go to the lower 8 bits of the program counter. Fine. Now the program counter will know that from where the 8051 has to resume its execution. See, for some time the execution of your main program has been stopped. It has moved to a new location where it was executing a new program. Fine. Now that new program execution has been done, now it has to return to its main location. How to remember that? What was the last location? It was given in the stack pointer. That value is restored in the program counter. Now it will start executing from this location. And what is that location? 0007. And where is 0007? Here is 00007. So it will start executing with the exactly next line of the lcall. Fine. For some time it has gone to this place, it has done its work, whatever its work, and it has come back to the next line. This is how your call instruction works. Fine. So it's my request to you all the students that please do some exercise on this, so that you'll understand how the long call and short or long call works. Fine. We have one more example here. So I leave this example. I've already uploaded this slide on on the Moodle and shared with you. So I left this example so that you can do the exercise. One important thing which I have forgotten to tell you, I'll just tell and then finish this lecture, that a subroutine, for example, within the same program itself, you are doing a long call. So you are doing a long call. So you are coming to this place, delay. Fine. Within the delay, there can be some instruction like push and pop. Push and pop. What does it mean? if see stack pointer, how you are using the stack, you're using the stack after the call instruction. Whenever you have a call instruction, your stack will be filled with some value. Fine. Now if you explicitly, the user wanted to use the stack, the user can also use the stack. Fine. In our last example, what was done? In the last example, what was done? Who was using the stack? It was 8051 who was using the stack. 8051 was giving these values. The user was not giving these values. User was only writing the program. He was only writing the program. Who is giving these values? This is 8051 who are giving these values. But what if a user wanted to use a stack? In that case, the user will use the push and pop instructions. Fine. Push and pop instructions. So let me explain you what is push and pop, and then we'll finish this lecture. If the user wanted to see, let us say this is your stack. If the user wanted to move some values into the stack, then for that it has an instruction which is known as push. So what will push do? Push will insert the values into the stack. Fine. Push will insert the value into the stack. So let us see. This is the push. Push 4. Push 4 means the push. The syntax of push is push and a register. Fine. So either you give the register values R, A, B, R0, R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, or what you can do, you can just simply write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 9. I'm sorry, till 7. You cannot give more than 7. It will give an error. So what does this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means? 1 means R1, 2 means R3. Exactly similarly like this, 7 means R7. Fine. So this is the syntax of push, and similarly is the syntax of pop. Fine. So when you wanted to move some values into the stack, you use the instruction push, and if you wanted to move some values out of the stack, then you use the instruction pop. Fine. So let us see this example. Push 4. Push 4 means you wanted to move the value of register R4 into the stack. Now what is the size of R4? Please tell me. The size of R4 is a single byte. Fine. Because it is 8 bits long. 4. See, this is R4. So R4 contains the value 99H. R4 contains 99H. Now you move. What you have done using the push, this instruction push 4. Push 4 means push the value of R4 into the stack. And what is the value of R4? R4 is 99. So 99 would be moved to the 99 will be moved to the stack. See, 99 is moved to the stack. But before moving the 99, what happened? You use the L call. You use the L call, long call. So what happened? The address of the next instruction. What is the address of next instruction? 000B. This has been moved to the stack. So first 0B, the lower bytes would be moved, and then 00, the higher byte will be moved. Let's see. First 0B, then 00. So this is the condition of stack. First 0B and then 00. What is this? This is the address. This is the address of each position on the stack. This position, the address is 08. This position, the address is 09. This position, the address is 0A. So first your 0B moved to 08, 00 moved to 09. This is the location. Fine. Location of the stack, and this is the value of the stack. Fine. This is PCL. PCL means lower byte of program counter. So lower byte of program counter moved here, and higher byte of program counter moved here. Fine. Now we will come back to our push and pop. So this value is because of the long call. And now what has happened because of push? What push has done? Push wants to move the value of R4 into the stack. Fine. So what is the value of R4? The value of R4 is 99. Fine. So that 99 is moved into the stack. Fine. So where it will moved? This is empty location. So since it is a last in first out structure, so it would be saved here like this. Fine. So 99 is saved here. Now we encounter again a push instruction, push R5. So what does push R5 means? Push R5 means the value of R5 will be saved onto the stacks. What is the value of R5? The value of R5 is 67. So 67 will be moved to the stack. Where it will be moved? To the empty location, the first empty location. The first empty location is this, that is 0b. So it will move to the place 0b. Fine. So the 67 will be moved to the 0b. It is moved like this. Fine. Please don't get confused. These are the values of the stack and this is the location of the stack. These are the location of these stacks. Fine. So stack pointer, please tell me what is the value of stack pointer here. The value of the stack pointer is the first value inside the stack pointer. Fine. The first value is 60, last value inside the stack pointer. First is this one. Fine. So what is the last value which is stored in the stack? That is 67. What is its location? Its location is 0b. So this is saved in the stack pointer. Fine. We'll do this exercise once again. I think now you have got what is push. I'll let you know what is pop. Fine. So here the stack pointer value is 09. Here the stack pointer value is 0a. Here the stack pointer value is 0b. So why stack pointer is required? Stack pointer is required to know that 8051 should know that what is the last value, where is the last value which is stored inside the stack. So the last value is stored here. Fine. So stack pointer contains 0b. Now let us come back to your push and pop. Fine. So after encountering the push, two pushes, these are simple instruction. Then you then you encounter an instruction which is pop. So what does pop means? Pop means that you get the value out from the stack. You get the value out from the stack and store where? Store in the R5. Fine. It's very easy. Similar to push. Push means get the value into the stack, and pop means get out value from the stack. It's very simple. Fine. So what it is doing, let's see. So push pop 5. Pop 5 means push get the last value. This is last in first out structure. Please remember, last in first out structure. That means the last value which is stored into the stack will get out first. Last in first out means the last value which is stored into the stack will get out first. Okay. So pop, so last value needs to be get out. So what is the last value? Last value is 67, which will be stored where? In the R5. So R5 gets the 67. Fine. Now you have next instruction, pop 4. What does it mean? Pop 4 means get the value, last value into R4. Now what is the last value? This is empty now. What will be the value of stack pointer? Stack pointer will be 0a because this is empty. Fine. So what is the value? 99. Pop 4 means 99 will go to R4. Now what is the value of stack pointer? Stack pointer value is 09. It is pointing towards this. Now after this, the last line is return. What does return mean? Return means you return to your main program. How would the 8051 know where is the main program? It will check the stack. What is the latest? What is the position? The position is 09. Fine. So it will check what is at 09. 09 there is some value. So that value will be stored into the program counter. Fine. So program counter is of 16-bit. So first 8-bit 00 will go to the higher 00. Then lower next 8-bit will go into the lower 8-bit of program counter. So now program counter will know that it has to restart its execution at 00b. And what is 00b? Exactly the next location of long call. Let us see. What is 00b? 00b is exactly the next instruction of lcall. Yes, the 00B is exactly the next location of long call. Fine. So this is what a long call means. Fine. This is what a call subroutine means, and this is how a stack is operated in a 8051. You should do these exercises because these exercises would be asked in your mid semesters as well as in your semester exam. So please do exercise using these slides, and I'm